Hey, English learners, welcome back to Spark and Speak, your favorite place to learn real English. Easy English, everyday English, the kind of English you actually use in real life. I am so happy you are here with me today. This is the place where we talk like real people. We share real stories, and we help each other feel comfortable and confident in English. I am not your teacher with a big stick. I am your English friend who truly wants to see you grow. And today is a big one. Because we are talking about something you do almost every single day. Something so small that nobody really teaches it properly. But it can quietly change the way people see you in English. I'm talking about yourself. Stay with me because by the end of this episode, you are going to have a simple, confident way to answer one of the scariest questions in English. So, tell me about yourself. This is going to be worth it. Let's go. Picture this. You moved to a new country in Europe. Maybe Germany, maybe Spain, maybe Poland. It does not matter where. You are at a new job or a language exchange meetup, or even just standing next to a neighbor by the mailboxes, and someone smiles at you and says, "So, tell me about yourself." Your brain freezes. You know English. You have studied it for years, but suddenly all the words disappear. You say something like, my name is, and I am from, and I work. And then silence. Awkward silence. If this has happened to you, I want you to know something important. This is not because your English is bad. This happens to almost everyone, even people who speak English very well. Because talking about yourself is not really about grammar. It is about having a simple, ready story in your head, so you do not have to build it from zero every single time. And here is something interesting. People who study how strangers meet for the first time say something a little surprising. The other person starts forming an opinion about you incredibly fast, sometimes within just a few seconds of seeing or hearing you. That sounds scary, right? But honestly, it is good news, because it means you do not need a perfect, long speech. You need a short, clear, confident introduction. And that is exactly what I'm going to give you today. So in this episode, we are going to fix 4 things. The grammar mistake almost every learner makes when they talk about themselves. The simple structure that makes any introduction sound natural. The skill of matching your introduction to the moment you are in. And the small habit that turns a boring introduction into a real conversation. Open loop. Ready? Let's start with a grammar mistake. Because once you fix this one, you are already ahead of most learners. Point 1. The number 1 grammar mistake. Okay, here is something I hear all the time from English learners here in Europe. They say something like, "I am living in Berlin for 3 years," or "I am working in this company for 2 years." It sounds almost right, but a native English speaker would feel something is a little off. Here is why. When you talk about something that started in the past and is still true right now, like how long you have lived somewhere or how long you have worked somewhere, English does not use "I am living" or "I am working." It uses "I have been living" or "I have been working." So instead of saying, "I am living in Berlin for 3 years," you say, "I have been living in Berlin for 3 years." Instead of, "I am working in this company for 2 years," you say, "I have been working in this company for 2 years." I know. It feels strange at first. In many languages, you would naturally use the present tense for this. But in English, this small change tells people something important. It tells them this is not new information. This is something that has been going on for a while, and it is still going on right now. And here is a little trick to help you remember when to use since and when to use for. Use since when you give a starting point, like since 2021 or since last summer. Use for when you give a length of time, like for 3 years or for 6 months. So you could say, I have been living here since 2021, or I have been living here for 3 years. Both are correct. You just need to match the right word to the right kind of time. Try this right now in your head. Think about your own life. How long have you lived where you live now? How long have you worked at your job or studied at your school? Practice saying it out loud. I have been living in for. Say it 2 or 3 times. Make it automatic so it comes out without you even thinking about it. Open loop. Now, fixing this one grammar habit already makes you sound more natural. But grammar alone does not make a great introduction. You also need to know what to actually say and in what order, and that brings us to the next point, which I honestly think is even more useful. Point 2. The simple structure that always works. A lot of English learners make a different mistake. They either say way too little, just their name and nothing else, or they say way too much, basically their whole life story, including their cousin's wedding and what they had for breakfast. The secret is a simple structure. 4 short pieces in this order. Your name, where you are from or where you live now, what you do, and one small personal detail. Let me show you what this sounds like in real life. Imagine you're at a language exchange meetup in your city. Someone turns to you and asks you to introduce yourself. You could say something like this. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm originally from Portugal, but I've been living here in Vienna for about a year now. I work as a nurse at the local hospital. And outside of work, I really love hiking, so I am always looking for new trails around the city. Notice how short that is. 4 pieces. Name, where from or where you live, what you do. One personal detail. That is it. You do not need 10 sentences. You need 4 clear ones. Here is the surprising part. That small personal detail at the end. The hiking, the cooking, the football team you support. That detail is actually the most powerful part of your whole introduction. Why? Because it gives the other person something easy to ask about next. It turns your introduction from a speech into the start of a real conversation. So, next time you are at the supermarket talking to a neighbor or in a work meeting introducing yourself to a new colleague, try building your introduction with just these 4 pieces. Name, where from or where you live, what you do, one personal detail. Practice it 2 or 3 times until it feels natural in your mouth, not just in your head. Open loop. Now, having the right structure is huge. But there is one more piece that most people completely forget. And honestly, this one might be the most important point in this whole episode. Point 3. Match. The introduction to the moment here is a mistake that even advanced English learners make. They prepare one introduction, they memorize it perfectly, and then they use the exact same words every single time, no matter who they are talking to. But think about it. The way you introduce yourself to a job interviewer is not the same as the way you introduce yourself to a new neighbor or a parent at your child's school or someone you just met at a friend's birthday party. In a job interview or a formal meeting, you keep it more professional. You focus on your work, your experience, maybe your education. Something like, "Hello, my name is Daniel. I had been working in marketing for the last 5 years, and I recently moved here to take a new position with this company." But at a casual gathering like a barbecue with your neighbors, or after your child's football practice, you can relax much more. You focus on hobbies, family, simple daily life. Something like, "Hi, I'm Daniel. My family and I moved here a few months ago. My son just started playing football here actually. So we are slowly getting to know everyone. Same person, same name. Completely different introduction, because the situation is different. So here is your homework, and I really want you to do this one. Think of 2 situations where you often need to introduce yourself. maybe work, and a social situation. Prepare a short version for each one. You do not need to write a script. Just know the 4 or 5 sentences you would naturally say. Open loop. Okay, so now you know the grammar, you know the structure, and you know how to match it to the moment. But there is one more piece that changes everything, and it has nothing to do with grammar or vocabulary at all. Point 4. Turn it into a conversation, not a speech. This is something I really want you to remember. Talking about yourself in English is not a performance. It is not a speech you give while the other person just stands there and listens. It is the beginning of a conversation. Here is the problem I see so often. Someone gives a perfect introduction, name, job, hobby, all correct grammar, and then they just stop. Silence. The other person does not know what to say or do next. The fix is incredibly simple. After you finish talking about yourself, ask something back. And you? What about you? How about yourself? These 3 little phrases are some of the most useful words in the entire English language because they turn the spotlight back to the other person, and suddenly you are having a real conversation instead of giving a one-person speech. Let me show you the full picture. Imagine you are at a doctor's waiting room and you start chatting with the person next to you. You say, "Hi, I'm Merrick. I'm from Poland, but I have been living here for about 2 years now. I work as an electrician. And you? Have you lived here long? Look what just happened." You introduced yourself in 4 simple parts, and then you handed the conversation back to them with one short question. That is exactly how real conversations work. So remember this. A good introduction in English is not the finish line. It is the starting line. Okay, let's bring this all together because you just learned a lot and I want it to really stick. First, watch your grammar when you talk about something that started in the past and is still true now. Say, "I have been living" or "I have been working," not "I am living" or "I am working." And remember, use since for a starting point and for a length of time. Second, use the simple 4-part structure. Your name, where you are from or where you live, what you do, and one small personal detail. Keep it short. You are not telling your whole life story. Third, match your introduction to the moment. A job interview is not the same as a barbecue with your neighbors. Have a short version ready for both your professional life and your social life. And fourth, never let your introduction become a one-person speech. End with a simple question like, "And you?" or "What about you?" That one small habit turns you from someone who is just talking into someone who is actually connecting. And remember what we talked about earlier. People form their first opinion about you incredibly fast, sometimes in just a few seconds. So you do not need to be perfect. You just need to be clear, confident, and ready. And now, after this episode, you are. I am honestly so proud of you for staying with me through this whole episode. Talking about yourself used to feel scary, maybe even a little embarrassing. But now you have a real structure, real grammar, and a real plan for any situation. Tell me in the comments, what is one situation where you usually get stuck trying to introduce yourself in English? Is it at work? At school? With new neighbors? I really want to know, so write it below, and I promise I will read your comments. If this episode helped you even a little bit, please hit that subscribe button. Spark and Speak is here every week, helping you sound more natural, more confident, and more like yourself in English. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Next time, we are going to talk about something that happens right after you introduce yourself. The small talk question almost nobody prepares for, and how to never run out of things to say again. You really do not want to miss that one. Thank you for being here today. I will see you in the next episode. Take care and keep speaking.